You're listening to Passing Time, a Detroit Lions podcast. We're one pride and all grit, with a passion for Detroit Lions football. Whether you're between meetings, between classes, sitting in traffic, or just relaxing at home, if you have time to pass, pass it with Passing Time. Detroit Lions Talk.
All right, welcome back.
Let's go.
Let's go. You're on the clock. You're passing time with us. A Detroit Lions podcast. I'm Ralph.
I'm Brian.
We got an action-packed, fun episode. Lions got momentum. Makes it a lot more fun to do this, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, Lions just didn't beat the Browns. They stole momentum. The Browns are no longer the kings of the North after beating the Packers. They forced turnovers, kept themselves firmly in the NFC's driver's seat. Was it a statement win, or was it just kind of a ugly, grinded-out game?
In my opinion, I think this was an ugly, grinded out game, but the Lions are finding different ways, new ways to win, and ugly just happens to be one of them.
All right. So next up, we got the Burrowless Bengals, which preseason this game looked like another one of those juggernaut games. Vegas now thinks it's a blowout, but could it be a trap game?
I mean, it could be a trap game because, in my opinion, I think the Bengals right now are worse than the Chicago Bears. They're worse than the Browns. So we got to prepare like anybody else.
All right, well, we're going to break it down with matchup breakdown and some predictions there. And then around the NFL, backup quarterbacks everywhere. Wild overtime debates. NFC North is already starting to separate itself a little bit, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it.
I absolutely love it. First, we're going to start off. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about the Lions and the Browns game. We're going to talk about some key points. There's a lot to unpack with this game. It was a big win. Any win's a big win in the NFL.
Right.
34-10.
I mean, I love seeing that 34 number on the scoreboard. I love seeing the points being scored by the offense. You know, the special teams coming out of the woodwork a little bit. Khalif getting his. You know, I love seeing the fact that we are finding different ways to win. I love seeing the defense showing out a little bit. I love seeing pressures. I love seeing 2 sacks by Hutch and a strip sack. I love seeing turnovers. I love seeing the Lions, do their thing.
You love.
I love it.
I got a lot of love.
A lot of love.
My name is Brian. Yeah. So Goff and Brown, consistent. But to your point, the defense and the special teams is the reason that there's a crooked number on the board after the end of the game.
I mean, you look at the statistics and you look at the yards earned, and it wasn't like Goff's greatest game. It wasn't the offense's greatest game, but the defense was able to turn the ball over. They're able to get short fields. They're able to turn those turnovers into 17 points, and ultimately that's what won them this game. It wasn't necessarily the 90 points they scored in the 2 weeks before. It was because they were able to use all 3 phases of the game and play complementary football.
Yeah. So let me bring you back to just under a year ago when Hutch went down with a big injury. Like, that's a where were you moment, right? So where were you last year when Hutch had his big injury?
I have my game day routine, and I was in my basement with my boy, with my family, watching the game and seeing, them just show out against Dallas, and then then Hutch didn't get up.
Yeah. So I had the game playing. My whole beer league hockey team had the game playing on our phones on the bench, and we literally stopped playing for a little bit, and we had to figure out what was going on with Hutch during the middle of a men's league. So I'm bringing that up because it looked like we might have had another moment last week.
There's definitely that moment. Hutch came across the back of the offensive line, got chipped, went down. We're like, oh man, what was it? What was it that is going to put him out? But the sigh of relief came when he popped back up and ran off the field and then returned to play very soon after, and got that next sack and got that next pressure and got that next the fumble. It was he had an amazing game.
A little bit of anxiety there, just going flashbacks to last year, and he rises from the ashes. A big relief. So Jack Campbell, we want to talk about defense. Brian, like this guy doesn't get enough flowers. Can you put some respect on his name?
Dude, the guy had 11 total tackles. He had 7 solo, 4 assists. The guy was everywhere from sideline to sideline. He was coming up strong, on tight ends. He was making plays. You know, I would say Judkins had a decent day as a running back, and let's give him his flowers. They worked their butt off, but he had 21 carries. It wasn't like he had 7 yards a carry. He had 4 yards a carry. But they continued to feed him the ball, and Jack Campbell continued to pound. So we got to give this guy his flowers. He's a green dot right now for a reason. This is the defense is flowing through Jack, and he is the defensive future.
Yeah, potential Pro Bowl or All Pro kind of guy trajectory right now. Big trajectory for this player, and also he's in a great core, which tells me that like man, we probably got to get Anzalone another year or two on a contract with. They pair very well together.
They pair, and then let's be honest. You complement that with a Derek Barnes who is doing all of the other little things that are unnoticed. The pressures on the quarterbacks, the coverage. He's able to play all 3 positions. The guy's all over the field as well. So it's funny. You don't see his name come up on the stat sheet nearly as much, but he is doing the grinding work just as much, and he is contributing in different ways.
Brian, are you the oldest child? Are you a middle child? Or are you the youngest child?
I'm a middle child.
You're a middle child.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about middle children don't get enough credit, right? So let me tell you about a middle child on the Lions roster, right? But this is a middle child of like their parents went out and had 30 kids, right? And this dude's just right in the middle, and that nobody talks about him. But Khalif Raymond, just nobody. He's the Brian Michael of the NFL roster, and just doesn't get enough credit. Goes out, he lines up, does everything at wide receiver, is a special teams ace, and we don't hand him enough flowers either.
Another guy that if you ask Dan Campbell, he is one of the favorites, right? I mean, he is a Dan Campbell through and through. He grinds out. He's a guy that has been on multiple teams, but we found his place when he came to the Detroit Lions with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. He is a grinder. He blocks his butt off. He doesn't care about the receptions, but he is willing to do the work.
Yeah. So with that said, I'm going to parlay this back to a firstborn child, right? Like the one that everybody wants to give all the glory to, who just got the big contract, J-Mo, right? We're constantly trying to shine that up, but he's struggled a little bit and had a tougher game last week.
And he did have 2 drops that we all, and you saw, should have made those plays, right? But one of them was a tough play. He's on the inside shoulder, he's on the outside shoulder, he's on the inside shoulder. Finally, he's trying to make that play, and it just happens to go through his hands. Another one, which we believe was a 3rd down, it should be a conversion on the sidelines, and I thought he made the catch, and replay shows that he didn't make the catch, right? But then there was I feel like there was just a little bit of off between Goff and J-Mo. Goff got bumped a couple times. He threw to a spot that he thought he should be. There a couple reads of the coverage that were a little bit off. They looked like they wanted to get J-Mo the ball. It looked like the offensive game plan was J-Mo was a 1-on-1. Let's get him the ball. Let's see what he can do. And it just didn't seem to work out.
Yeah. So you trying to get the firstborn the ball, right?
Trying to get him firstborn. And this is coming off a week where he had 2 targets, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's a little bit there, like, hey, we gotta get him the ball. But at the same time, like, we wanted to get him the ball because he is a playmaker. So
absolutely. So let's move from that skill position into the trenches. And the trenches on both sides of the ball are looking better and better.
Every week, I look at my defensive line and I'm excited, right? You look at what Hutch is doing, and he is starting to be the Hutch of old. Mm-hmm. You look at Tyreek, and he is becoming, coming into his own as a rookie. DJ Reader is like, he's a man. When he doesn't have to play 90% of the snaps, he can do great things.
Yeah. And let's not forget, I just saw an interview on 97.1, Dan Campbell. They talked about Aleem McNeil, and he's like, you know what? Right now, he says he's 93, 94%. Dan says, well, let me know when you get to 94.6. and we'll get the clock started. And he told Dan today, I'm at 94.6. So it's like, we're going to get that clock rolling.
Oh, we're starting Mac's clock today. He's I think he's a little nervous, so he's ready to go. Like I said, I'm sorry for some of those guys who are going to have to line up across from him, so he's ready to go.
It's going to be a mid-October coming back party for Liam McNeil.
So, I mean, we all know that he's the 4 weeks that he had to be out is up, and the 21-day clock is starting. And are we gonna see Ali McNeil? Maybe in the next couple of weeks. Are we gonna see Ali McNeil Monday night against the Buccaneers?
That would be wild.
Ooh.
That would be wild, yeah. So a couple highlights. St. Brown, another just consistently good game.
Listen, I mean, Amon-Ra does his thing, and we look at him, and I tell you, like, we take it for granted, like, because it's every week, it's consistency. It's like 7 yards, 72. Like, we're sad when he gets 72 and 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. Like, we're asking a guy to put the game on his shoulders every third down, every fourth down, and he comes through.
He's putting up, I don't know the stats, and maybe we'll research this for the next pod, but like, I would love to see kind of Kelvin Johnson, Amon-Ra St. Brown stats kind of side by side, because he's ascending. I mean, he it used to be, before that it was like Herman Moore stats, can you get to that level? And now we're past that.
Dude, this guy is legit. And not only that, but beyond just the catching and beyond just the yards and beyond just the touchdowns, you look at what he does in the run game, you look at what he does behind the ball, and you look at what he does when the ball doesn't come to him, he is still working. Yeah. He is the epitome of what you want a receiver to be. And I'm going to tell you, Detroit, they don't want anybody else. They don't need a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or anybody else. They want an Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got their guy, and they love having him.
Yeah, grit index, big. All right. Talk about the defense. 2 interceptions, 1 fumble forced, probably 17 points from that. Showing.
It's great showing. Short fields. I mean, they gave the offense really awesome field positions. DJ Reed had an amazing interception. I mean,
Kirby called fair catch under one.
Hey, this one's to me. I don't know if anybody else in the area, but and Hutch. I mean, should have had 2 strip sacks, but the one that he did have, I mean, like, if this guy's going to do this week in and week out, this is scary stuff. This is MVP stuff. This is Defensive Player of the Year stuff.
Oh,
this is not just Comeback Player of the Year stuff.
Oh, man. Let's go. So, all right, let's take down the excitement real quick.
All right.
And let's talk about injuries. DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold. We went through this before with the secondary last year. This is a little bit of flashback. We got a little bit of like foresight into how long they're going to be out.
Yeah, DJ Reed is still a little bit unsure. I mean, I think we're recording this on Tuesday night, so we're not going to know really his diagnosis until Wednesday or Thursday. And what that looks like. But it sounds like what Dan is saying is that this is going to probably be a 3, 4, maybe 5 week kind of deal. It's not a season-ending injury, but if it is a hammy, you're looking at 5 weeks minimum. So
maybe best case after the bye week.
Hopefully he can come back and get going again. Now TA, it sounds like it's something that he's dealing with, and they're unsure if he's going to be able to play this week in Cincinnati. My guess is that he'll probably sit out this week, but that he'll be coming back next week against Kansas City.
You think if Burrow was playing, they would try to get him out there?
There definitely would be a little bit of difference, but we're still early in the season, man. I mean, they're looking for not week 5, they're looking for week 17.
There's a consistent theme here.
Yeah, week 18. Come on, we're not looking for right now. And to be honest with you, if you go back and look at earlier pods when we did some of our projections, this is kind of where we were sitting. Now, who we lost to and who we beat might have been different, but right now 3-1 might have been right where we were, what we were feeling good about.
Yeah, no doubt. So, other couple notes. Right now, Hutch is trending. He is now the betting favorite for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Number 2,
I love it. And
Micah Parsons.
oh yeah, and you look at statistically, he's right there. PFF grades. I think they had Hutch tied second right now in PFF grades, and Micah was first. But he's got the pressures. He's getting the sacks, 5 sacks in 4 games. The strip sacks. All he's missing right now is some interceptions, and he's going to be playing out. I mean, showing out. Let's go.
Yeah. So, hey, you guys, we're going to be breaking to the next segment, but I want to pause real quick right here. Last couple weeks, last week we had Chris Perfett on, and it was an interesting podcast, a little bit different style than we typically do. But Brian, his talking time, his microphone time, I don't know, between 10 and 20% potentially. And
I've been saving it all for right now.
And then the week before, we had Talking Grit guys on, great guys. But Brian's mic time's been down, so if he seems excited, the dude's got a lot to say. And like I talk about that leash dog, and I'm snapping that leash off today. We're letting the bikes get after it. All right.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
appreciate it. Thanks, Rob. Let's go.
I got you. and we're in person. If you're a follower of the pod, last couple weeks we've been putting our earmuffs on, hanging out by ourselves. We can't even hear the laughs from the audience when the earmuffs are on. But now we can, baby. Now we can. So, Lions Bengals. It's a big game. Not as big as originally coming in, but anytime you play an NFL road game, it's a big game.
I think it's more of a big game because what's coming next week and the week after, right? Cincinnati is a big game because the following week is Kansas City, and I don't want to look past Cincinnati. And the week after is the Bucs, and both of those two teams are pretty scary. And I would say preseason, looking in, Cincinnati was a scary team too, but a backup quarterback with a subpar offensive line and maybe a suspect defense is becoming less scary. And you just saw them Monday night. Makes me feel less threatened whatsoever. Now, what they do have are two pretty solid, one elite wide receiver and one that's right behind him. And so those things scare me a little bit, especially with some injuries in our secondary.
Mm-hmm. So last episode, I learned a couple things from Chris Perfett. One, that like Neanderthals would chase down antelope until they could catch them and they would get them, right? The other thing I learned is people in Detroit love to bet on their team, right? So let's talk about the lines a little bit. And Vegas knows that Detroit people are going to back their team with money. So they're going to offset those lines a little bit and try to draw that money in. What's unique about this week, and 1-800-GAMBLERS is not gambling advice, is this week it started off at 8.5. Lions are favored by 8.5. It's moved to 10. Exactly like the podcast last week. Exact timing as well. So heavy favorites. This time the over-under sitting at 49.5, which tells us Vegas is expecting a 30-19 type game. So what's your take here?
The Lions are going to score over 30 points, and they're going to limit the success of the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, that is their recipe. They're going to eliminate the really poor run game that Cincinnati has. They're going to put the game on Jake's shoulders, and they're going to allow their offense to run wild. And you're probably going to see a heavy Monty game because after 12 yards and 9 carries, Monty's probably like a little frustrated, coming off 151 yards the week before. So guess what? They're going to feed the monster, and he's going to show up.
Oh, all right. So Brian is telling you to take the Lions.
Yes.
And are you taking the over, or is the defense going to be stout enough to limit that?
Nope. I'm taking the over only because I'm seeing a Cincinnati Bengals team that I don't think they're nearly as good as the Browns. Nearly. Let's stop for a second and say I think the Browns are a pretty solid team. Now, I think they're lacking in some offensive line depth, and I think they're lacking in a quarterback. But beyond that, they have an amazing defense. Mm-hmm. They are able to continue to run the ball with a rookie running back who I think runs hard. And I think they have the makings of what's going to be at some point a good team. Okay, they're just not quite there yet. I think Cincinnati minus Joe Burrow is going to struggle.
All right. Well, let's get into that. So, what can we expect from Jake Browning? Last week, 14 for 25 for 125, took 3 sacks.
And now we are going to let Hutch do his thing. He's going to continue to repeat that spin move, and he's going to get after Jake Browning. He is going to be scary.
So not so fast, my friend. The running game for the Bengals features Chase Brown, who's
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
57 carries for 133 yards on the year.
Look out! We better slow down because I think guys like DJ Ritter and Tyreek are going to feast on the running game.
Short week for Cincinnati as well. They're coming off
of Monday night.
So let's talk a little bit about let's do Lions O versus Bengals D, and we'll do Lions D versus Bengals O. Okay, we'll just kind of we'll break down the stats, and I'll read you some stats, and if you feel like something's moving inside you where you want to react, sure, react, baby. All right. Cincinnati, 30th overall in D. They give up about 400 yards a game. Lions, 6th overall in offense, averaging 365 yards a game. Advantage?
I'm guessing Detroit.
Cincinnati's allowed 15 total TDs. That's good for 29th in the NFL. The Lions score 17 on average.
I'm guessing advantage Detroit.
All right. The Bengals are 30th in defending the pass. The Leos are 10th in passing.
I think advantage Detroit.
All right.
There might be a theme here if you see this coming. Here we go.
Maybe there's a trend bucker here, but they're 26th in defending the rush, and the Lions are 6th in rushing.
Oh man, advantage Detroit.
We should have sent these to Bill before he gave us takes. All right. So let's go Lions D versus Bengals. I'll quickly kind of run through this. So the Leos in total D are 12th overall, giving up 293 a game. Cincinnati is dead last, averaging 205 a game.
So let's go. What the Lions need to focus on here is that opening drive. If the Lions can stop a touchdown on that opening drive, we're gonna have some pretty scary success. And I'll be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals score more than 10 points if the Lions are able to stop that opening drive.
So you bring that up, and that's a commonly talked about. If you don't know, Brian, do you want to kind of give the unfortunate key stat?
Unfortunate key stat is that we've played 4 games, and in 4 games, the Lions have allowed an opening drive touchdown.
Then Uncle Calvin gets it straightened away.
We figured it out. Shep has got it figured out, makes some adjustments, and says, you know what, hey, maybe we should be playing an opening drive off to the side before the game starts. Or maybe I should tell the Lions, like, hey, the game doesn't start at 1, it starts at 12:45. The game this week doesn't start at 4:15. It starts actually at 4, so they can get themselves ready to go.
Yeah, I like it. So I have a couple more stats. Do you want me to finish, or are you just saying, all right, we're done here?
I mean, if you want to talk about them, but I'm probably going to say advantage Detroit.
Okay. So I left off at the Lions are 13th in defending the pass. The Bengals are 30th in passing.
Now, the tricky thing is that we are going to be short probably 2 of our top DBs in this incident, and so I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to have a better day than they have had in weeks past. But this is reliant on Jake Browning having enough time to get that ball out to him. So I would venture to see, or I would probably see some short passing games and rallying to the ball. I don't think that Jake Browning is going to have a lot of time to throw the ball deep down the field. But I think Jamar is going to get open at times and have his receptions. So, do I think he's going to go over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns? No. But I think that he's going to have some success.
Yeah. And statistically, this is where the Lions stand out the most, whether it's on offense or defense as a unit. They are 7th in the NFL against the run. They stack up the best there on any of those categories, and the Bengals are dead last.
Yeah, and I think that trend continues. And if not, I think the Lions continue to take a step up in that trend because, we do that. That's our number one priority on defense is we stop the run on our way to the quarterback.
Mhm.
We stop the run on the way to stopping the pass. That's where we hang our hat. And if you've learned anything from a Dan Campbell Detroit Lions, it's that we want to stop the run first. That's our priority. We are going to win this game in the trenches, whether it's defensively or offensively.
I love it. So that segues perfectly. Can you kind of give me the bullet points, the keys to the game next week?
I mean,
How do we beat these Bengals?
we do what we do offensively. We're going to run the ball, and I think this is going to be a heavy Monty game. Amon-Ra is going to get his, Jamo's going to get his chances in order to make sure that we continue, this continuity between Jared Goff and Jameson Williams. We might even see one or two passes to Tesla this week.
We can quiet down some of
yeah. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a JMO game. Gibbs is going to have an okay day as well. And then defensively, you're going to see the Hutch's feast. The Tyreek's going to have some tackles for loss. DJ Reed's going to have those tackles as well behind the line of scrimmage, and maybe even a bit of Muhammad's success. So we're going to continue to see that D line have a good day, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jack Campbell has another 11 tackle day.
All right, I like that. So what you're saying is just put all your chips on the Lions, or are we blindsiding ourselves here because this feels a little bit like a trap game? It's a road game in the NFL. We're sleepwalking into these stats, and on paper, there is no way the Bengals can hold the Detroit Lions jack. And we've seen it time and time again in the NFL where this happens. Everybody's saying this. Like, could this potentially be one of those trap games?
And it could be. If any game is, you look at the calendar, it's this game right now, right? But Dan Campbell does such a great job of making sure his team is prepared, making sure that they don't look past, because Kansas City's an easy team to look to beyond the Cincinnati Bengals. And maybe I can do it or you can do it, but Dan Campbell's not going to do it. You're going to hear in every presser leading up to this game is Cincinnati Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to downplay anything beyond that, and he's going to give them their kudos. This is a good team. They're coached well. They're going to have their stuff in a row and ready to go. They have really elite wide receivers, and he's going to hang his hat in order to get his team motivated enough to make sure they're ready to go.
I'm personally, I'm ready to go.
All right, let's get ready to go.
So who steps up? We haven't talked about this. Who steps up in the secondary to kind of fill some of that void and gets a little bit more playing time?
Simple. It's easy. Amik Robertson has got to be the guy, right? Amik has got to put the weight on his shoulders in order to lock down, Mr. Chase and make sure that his success is limited. He's gonna get his, but rally to the ball, tackle, be successful in on that, intermediate routes, and they're gonna be okay. Dorsey might have hit some of his time. Rocky Sin is gonna have some time as well. And you might even see Brian Branch move down to a slot position at times, be versatile. Or you're gonna see Derek Barnes, be playing a little bit more Sam outside of the box.
Okay.
So
yeah. I do think if the Lions should get pressure on Browning. Browning's known to kind of be more of a statue-esque quarterback in the pocket, needs time, needs protection. If the Lions get pressured, the safeties could feast because he's a guy that's going to throw the ball up looking for one of his star wide receivers to make a play.
And so do you see another, Kirby Joseph interception or Brian Branch? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that these guys can just sit back, play loose, rally to the ball, fly to the ball, and just flee ball hawks, right? Let's get some pressure and make this guy throw it up.
So bold predictions. You're going to take over, under, or push on a couple of these. I'm making these up as I go here. So Detroit Lions defense, 3 turnovers.
I'm looking at probably. I'm saying a minimum of 2.
A minimum of 2. So you're taking the under on that.
Yeah.
All right, let that be noted. Detroit Lions rushing 200 yards.
I'm going to take at least, I would say 180. So I'm going to go the under there. Yeah, I'm going to go the under there.
Detroit Lions passing offense 180 yards.
Oh, gotta go over on 180.
Okay, so we're gonna throw the ball more.
You're just gonna see Amon-Ra feast. You're gonna see Sam Laporta have his day. But I mean, bulk of the carries are you're going to see David Montgomery, and he's going to grind this game out.
Aiden Hutchinson's over under 1.5 sacks.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him over.
Okay, all right. Look at that grin on his. Oh yeah. Hey, so let's parlay that grin. Speaking of betting and grins, let's just talk about Bill, because we've actually we got a new term we like to use. It's called billing, right? So like, hey Bill, if you're watching, Brian's going to tell you about billing in the hallway this week. So what have you been talking about with Bill?
So Bill's an interesting cat because he texted me.
You start every time off with Bill's an interesting guy. Every time. Because we're on episode 23.
I know. People know. You know. Bill's an interesting cat. So Bill texted me during the middle of this Browns Lions game, and the Lions are up at the time. I think they were up by 2 scores. They're up by 10 points. And Bill's texting me, I'm in a fetal position right now. Like, he's freaking out, right? He's freaking out. And I'm like, hey, man, like, we're up by 2 scores, right? This is a good team, and we're beating them by 2 scores. All right. But he is still, the roller coaster of emotion that is Bill. It's Billy. Right?
Yeah.
And when we find a negative thing to think about the Lions, we're gonna refer to it as billing. I'm sorry, that's what we're gonna do. But if you look at his bullet points, he's talking about, hey, when are we going to bring back a skipper? When are we going to bring back Dan Skipper? Bring that 6th offensive lineman into the box and run the ball, and just start driving it down, people's throats. And I say this off of a Browns game where Gibbs got 91 yards rushing, and this is a really good Browns rushing defense. They were first in the league going into this game. They're not anymore, but this is what we do as Lions fans. We're like, we look at what we have, and it's just not quite good enough, right? And so building, so and then you look at, is this feast or fathom with the run game versus the Browns? Are we going to be able to establish the run versus the Bengals? I don't think that the Bengals are nearly as good of a defense, as the Browns. Like, I wouldn't even put them in the same category as the Browns. And I feel like this is where we are going to find success. And Bill is still, it's like, hey, let's make sure that we have a guy like Dan Skipper coming off the edge, because he doesn't believe in Amon-Ra. Okay, moving on. Browns game plan versus the run was legit. Yeah, I can give Bill credit on this one, because they shut Monty down. And if you look at what they did against Gibbs, they made him work for the runs too, because he had to grind out those runs. He had a 3-yard run here and a 3-yard run, but then he would break one out, and that's where he found his success. The Browns, what they were able to do is pack the box towards interior runs against Monty and shut him down, and then they spread things out and attack the edges against Gibbs. But Gibbs found success in the interior because Gibbs is a pretty versatile back. So
yeah. So I mean, really, we've all noticed this, and actually, I want you to comment. This is going to be fun. Please, if you're watching at this point, please give us a comment on this. I really think there's 3 types of fans out there, right? There's the overly pessimistic, emotional fan that remembers the past. It's so scarred from the years of watching the same old Lions, and they're just nervous to be optimistic, especially if you spend all offseason being optimistic and you watch week 1 against the Packers, and like it's just hard to get over that ledge. So That's one type of fan, right? And the other type of fan is just you're overly optimistic, right? Like every year your team's winning the Super Bowl, you're going there. And then there's that perfectly reasonable, rational fan that can kind of ride the wave a little bit, like Brian.
Yeah, I'm the reasonable fan. Because I feel like I might be a reasonable fan with lean towards the optimistic.
All right. So where are you? I mean, because we all err on one side. Are we a little bit more pessimistic typically, or are we a little bit more optimistic? So that's interesting. Hey, while we're doing this, Stat Boy in the background, DeAndre Levy's biggest fan. It's his screen name. He shot me the stats for Amon-Ra, Calvin Johnson, first 4 seasons.
Okay, I'm interested.
So first 4 seasons, receiving yards, Amon-Ra 48-51. Calvin Johnson 4,800. Receiving touchdowns, Amon-Ra 43. Calvin Johnson 45.
Okay.
Receptions, Amon-Ra 430. Calvin Johnson 300. Pro Bowl selections, 3 Amon-Ra, All Pro. 1 Calvin, 0 Amon-Ra, 2 Pro Bowl selections. So when we talk about stats, that's Hall of Fame.
We're talking about Amon-Ra and the Hall of Fame statistics here. We're like, this is the caliber of wide receiver that we're talking about.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
That's unbelievable.
That is, and we get to witness this. This is like let's just take a moment and Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays be able to appreciate what we have here. And I think, Rob, I don't mean to like cut you off here, but you said it last week. Goff might not be the top of tier of quarterback, but the relationship he has with Amon-Ra St. Brown is the top of the top.
Yeah, that's tier one. Not only that, we have the best running back right now as the Detroit Lions since Barry Sanders, right?
And you pair that up with another running back who is in the top 10.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, we talked about it preseason. You go back to what we said a couple of times. We got some rich people problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're back into that. Like, how do we get Sam LaPorta the ball more? How do we get Tesla the ball more? How do we get Jalen the ball more?
Yeah.
And we're still scoring 34 points a game.
And Khalif Raymond says, "Hey, I'm the middle child, y'all. Like I can make plays too." He does every time he has to make a play.
And he does.
Let's go around the NFL a little bit. Brian, you've kind of put out an interesting thing. Let's look at all the 2-2 teams out there. What I want you to do is say like pretender or contender. Okay. And I want instant reaction. The Commanders.
I think they got to be a pretender right now. I mean,
wait. Is that a P?
Pretender.
Okay.
I think Jaden Daniels, who's injured right now, but the script is out on how to stop this guy. Mm. Like the tape is there, and the sophomore slump is real, and teams are smart. The NFL coaches are smart, and they're going to find your weakness, and they're going to exploit it. And then there's tape against you. They're going to do what they can in order to stop you against, based on that tape.
Minnesota Vikings.
They're pretenders.
Okay, so we got 2 pretenders so far.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, like, Carson Wentz is not the answer, and until JJ shows it, I know that you love the guy, and
JJ,
he is at this point not the guy, not yet. Like, could he be at some point? Maybe. He's not the guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if you want to, pick your wife after 2 dates, yeah, like, cool. It's fair to do that, but like, give the guy some time, right? The Chicago Bears. Pretender. Well, so everybody's pretending out here, right?
I mean, those 3 that you just gave me.
I threw a wild card in here. The Green Bay Packers at 2-1-1.
The Green Bay Packers are still good.
Okay.
They're still good. I don't think they're as good as everybody made them out to be week 1 and against the Lions, which, let's be honest, laid an egg in week 1. And I'm not saying that the Green Bay Packers wouldn't beat the Lions again if they played them again, which they will, and we'll have that test. But the reality is I don't think Green Bay is what we all wanted to gift them after the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and that's shaping up to be a big game. That's a red letter game.
Yeah,
sure.
circle it.
Atlanta Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons are still pretenders. They're not quite there yet.
All right. New England Patriots.
They're getting better. I still think they're getting better, but they're not a Super Bowl contender right now.
Yeah, I think Vrabel is a good coach.
Yep.
I think he is a above average coach. Builds culture, Dan Campbell-esque style coach. That's a compliment to both parties, right? The Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals without Joe Burrow they're not going to be able to hold up. I mean, they got some talent at the wide receiver position, but there's so many gaps in this roster that they're not going to be able to hold it together.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh. I think the Kansas City Chiefs with a Patrick Mahomes is still going to be a problem in the AFC. They're still going to win their games, and they're still going to contend.
Okay, I mean you drag that out.
Yeah.
No, I don't want decisive contender.
Contender. They're contender.
Thank you. I know I took your mic time away the last couple of weeks. All right. The Denver Broncos.
They're a contender.
That was quick.
Yeah, they have a solid defense. They have a solid run game. They're not perfect, but ultimately they're a Sean Payton style offense, and they're going to be coached up enough in order to week in and week out contend.
So I'm gonna sidebar this game real quick. When I was in second or third grade, we used to talk about what the alligator eats, right? The greater one was the one that the alligator eats, right? So if I put the Chiefs on one side and I put the Broncos on the other, and I'm only doing this because how quickly you said the Broncos were a contender and how you had to drag out the Chiefs. Who is the alligator going to eat? Which is that's the better team if you don't remember second grade.
And it's going to be painful for me to say, but I think the Chiefs are the better team here.
Why is that painful for you?
Because I think that we all as fans look at what the Chiefs have done, and they are continuously there. They're continuously winning, and Patrick Mahomes gets his accolades. He's top of the mountain, and ultimately he gets the praise week in and week out, whether he does well or does poorly. And it's hard for me to give him those accolades, but he's an amazing talent. And that Chiefs team is going to be still there at the end of the season.
I mean, they've had Worthy out, they've had Rice out, they're
and still one game.
They're five. They're getting through it, right?
Yep.
So I guess last of the 2-2 is Cardinals.
I still think the Cardinals are a few players away, so I would say they're pretenders at this point. I know that they've been given a lot of preseason, this is going to be the next up and coming team, but they're not quite there yet.
All right. A couple big injuries around the NFL with superstar wide receivers, right? So, is there any player safety issues? But we lost Malik Neighbors, who's a fun player to watch, and Tyreek Hill, who's a fun player to watch, right? And
I mean, injuries are going to happen. We as Lions fans know injuries are going to happen. If anybody knows injuries are going to happen, it's us. And it just so happens that it's happening to a couple really talented ball players.
Yeah. All right. So let's spin it around the North.
Let's go.
So Green Bay Packers, they got a bye week this week. If you stayed up late enough to just watch that, you just were eating popcorn until your belly was bursting with popcorn because a 40-40 tie against the spineless Dallas Cowboys was all the comedy and excitement you need as Lions fans. Coming off the back of a loss to the Browns.
Who are you rooting for in that? I'm sitting back watching this game conflicted, right? Because I hate Dallas, but I'm pretty sure I hate Green Bay more, right? So ultimately I'm rooting for Dak Prescott. I'm feeling very weird about this in this whole process. And what could have been the best outcome is a 40-40 tie.
Yeah. Neither team looked great. 40-40 tie was the absolute best thing. So, that's big for the Lions.
It's great, because who stands atop of the North right now? But the Detroit Lions. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the only place to be alone doesn't feel lonely, right?
Yeah.
On top of the North, right? So, the Vikings, they got the Steelers this week, 2-2. I mean, they have, I think, an elite defensive coordinator that calls a great defense. They have a coach that is going to cater to the offense among the best in the NFL. And they are exactly what you think they're going to be, trying to find their quarterback. They're 2-2, and they're just trying to find their identity, and they're kind of treading down the middle right now.
And I think they're going to struggle. I mean, the Steelers kind of exposed some things to them that Carson Wentz is definitely not the guy, and he's going to make mistakes along the road. And there's a reason that he was a late ad, in the NFL. Can JJ pick it up and learn from his mistakes early on in the season in order to be better prepared as it goes on? I don't know. But right now, it does look like the Minnesota Vikings are a quarterback away from contending.
Is the North not as good as we thought it was? But we got to take the Lions are in the North, right? So we think the Lions are essentially a top 5 team in the NFL. The Packers are. I remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking with the Talking Grit guys, and if you watch that episode, I challenged those guys, but they put the Packers right alongside the Bills, and I pushed back on that.
Yeah,
they haven't earned that quite yet. Maybe they're a tier below that, or even a tier and a half below that. But if the Vikings are kind of struggle to find themselves along the way, then that brings us to our next team, the Chicago Bears.
So, I mean, if you look at each of these teams and compare them to where they were last year, I'd put the Chicago Bears better than they were last year. That's where I'd say they took a step forward rather than a step back. I would say the Minnesota Vikings probably took a step back than they did last year. And I think the Green Bay Packers actually took a step forward. And you guys can decide where the Lions kind of are established right now in the North. I think that they are, at the very least, even in comparison to their talent level, what their abilities are. They might lose more games this year than they did last year, but in the North, they're still the team to beat.
They will win more playoff games this year than they did last year.
They will win more playoff games this year than they did last year. They might lose more regular season games than they did last year, but they will win more playoff games.
Chicago Bears, they're 2-2. Kind of, you mentioned on the rise a little bit. The Lions angle here is that we absolutely dominated them, right? And then, so we have the physical, the mental edge right now over the Bears. And, you look at their wins, it's the Raiders and the Cowboys, 2 of the weaker teams in the NFL. Any other additional thoughts there?
And the Raiders, they won on a blocked field goal with time expiring. It was, I mean, let's give the Bears their kudos in this, because that's a game that they definitely would have given away in years past.
Kudo.
A kudo? I mean, it's like, give them their accolades. Give them credit.
Their flowers.
Give them their flowers.
Okay. All right.
Give them flowers, and because this is a game that the same old Bears would have given away in years past.
Yeah. All right. Anything additional on that?
I mean, I'm still going to continue to think that Caleb Williams is not quite the guy, though he showed that he was better in week 4.
All right, I like it. So, can you remind our listeners, if they don't know, that we really need you to please follow.
Please.
It doesn't cost you anything. Just follow, hit a couple like buttons. We're starting to get more. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
Every single one of them. Where are they going to find us at?
Listen, we appreciate those people that hit that subscribe button. I mean, we're gaining some traction. We appreciate you. You might have seen something you like. Maybe this face, maybe this face. But ultimately, thank you for doing that. Like and subscribe. We're on YouTube, as you know. We're on Spotify or anywhere you can find your podcasts. We've started a TikTok page and kind of trying to gain some traction there.
Synchronized dancing.
And we're on Instagram. So we got all the social medias covered, but we need you in order to make this thing work. So
yeah, just give us a follow, please.
And more than that, like interact with us, comment, like what do you want from us, and we'll try to make it happen.
You want a TikTok dance? You got you.
Yeah.
Actually, we've been tossing out. We have a local brewery that we're gonna think about doing a live show. So maybe we'll tease that out ahead of time if you want to come and grab a pop with us. And if you're around Grand Rapids, that'd be really fun.
That'd be cool.
So next week's podcast, we're gonna flush our stomachs of the Skyline chili down in Cincinnati, right? And hopefully that chili was real good, and we just ran it through our system. We're getting ready for next week. But we have a big game, and not that we're looking past it, but it's a big preview in the following week. We're going to play the Chiefs, and that's going to be kind of another one of those statement games on the schedule.
And you looked at what we did against the Ravens, and you asked yourselves, what do they have left? Did we break them? And can we do the same thing against the Chiefs?
Yeah, let's break them.
Let's break them.
Yeah. So we're going to break this podcast up right here and right now. So we really appreciate you passing time with us. A Detroit Lions podcast. Again, I'm Rob.
I'm Brian.
See you next week. See you.